Good evening, and welcome to the third episode of Mindfulness Mondays, a Department of Health conversation about mental wellness. I am Dr. Chital Noel, Director of Behavioral Health. Each time we experience a tragedy involving guns, people with mental illness are drawn into the conversation. The truth is that the vast majority of violence is not perpetrated by people with mental illness. Misinformation only serves to perpetuate stigma and distract from real issues. Tonight, we will discuss gun violence and its effects on our community's mental health. Joining me as co-host is Tamara Ramos, Community Outreach Worker at the Division of Behavioral Health. And from the Office of the Governor's Virgin Islands Office of Gun Violence Prevention, we are pleased to have with us Antonio Emanuel, Executive Director, and Damian Lang, Violence Interrupter. We begin the first segment with Director Emanuel. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening.
And welcome. We're so excited to have you here, but can you share a little bit about yourself and how you got into this field?
Well, I am a career law enforcement officer, and I worked in Maryland for 27 years and retired and moved back to the Virgin Islands and held several positions here, worked for VIPD, Havenza, Cruise and Rum, sort of went around the bush here, and then wound up. I saw the position come open, and I applied for the Office of the Gun Violence Director to sort of help make change.
Okay. So what is the mission of the Office of Gun Violence Prevention?
Our mission is to attack the gun epidemic from a health perspective and to create strategies, programs, and initiatives that promote attitudes and mindset change to nonviolence.
Okay, and what are some essential statistics that we should be aware of as a community?
Well, right now, currently, we have 16 homicides in the territory, 9 on St. Thomas and 7 on St. Croix. That is a reduction of the past years. Last year, we had approximately 32 homicides. The year before that, I think we had like 52 homicides. So we're seeing a reduction, and that's a combination of efforts. I certainly want to say that our office is making an impact, but we certainly have to share some of those accolades with the work from the VIPD, citizens, giving up information, assisting with investigations. And I think people are just changing their minds and don't want to continue the violence that's been plaguing our society.
Okay, and what are some other essential agencies that you guys partner with?
Well, we have the Governor's Advisory Council for the Gun Violence Prevention Office. And in that advisory council, we partner with most of the government agencies, community stakeholders, faith-based organizations, nonprofits, and even private businesses. And I'm going to wound up forgetting somebody, but some of the main government agencies are certainly VIPD, the Health Department, Human Services, Parks and Recreation, Housing. So those organizations allow us to have resources that we can make available to people that are at risk or need particular services, and having the ability to reach out and use other government agencies as resources and help allows us to do more wraparound services. For instance, the incident at the school where we had the kids shot the BB guns and health department came and provided counseling with us and together. So we have that it's very important that we use the collaborative efforts of other agencies to do this together. It's like, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes all of us collectively together with our ideas and plans to try to attack this thing from a multi-level system so that we can share in the benefits of affording resources for our citizens.
Absolutely. I love the idea of approaching this effort as not just a public safety issue, but a public health issue. And in public health, a lot of what drives what we do is the data. So how do you collect data?
Well, collect that data from a myriad of sources. One, every time there's an incident, we're collecting that data. The police department is collecting that data. The hospitals are collecting that data. So the data sort of drives how we decide where we're going to put resources and how we're going to what's identified as at-risk neighborhoods or turfs. So that information is shared amongst each agency. So it's a collective effort, and the data we're collecting will help plan for the next year and how we decide to do resources and deploy. So all that information is critical for us, and it shows us that there's a reduction.
And how has your data, I guess the question would actually be, when collecting this data, does it show you some of the root causes or the reasons why there is gun violence throughout the territory?
Well, I think the data doesn't really say it's this problem or that problem, because here again, it's just so many different facets that cause a problem. You know, we can point at unemployment, we can point at dropouts, we can point at domestic violence, we can point at just people having turf battles. We can talk about drugs and the competition between those people that are trying to make the best money, you know. So it's not one thing that's causing the problem. So it's like there's a myriad of issues that plague our society at the same time.
Can you tell us a little about your outreach efforts?
Well, we focused on our young people. Even though we know the average victim of gun violence is between 19 and 29, however, the way I'm approaching it is that we need to plant seeds to change the mindsets. So we spend a absorbent amount of time in the school system, in the elementary school levels, middle school and high school, trying to teach our young people how to manage their lives, make decent decisions and good choices, understanding the effects of consequences, peer pressure, choosing their friends, those types of things. So hopefully in 4 or 5 years from now, the young people that we've spent time with and mentored and spoke to will benefit from some of those conversations. We can't save everybody, but I think we're making a really good effort in having young people think about what they do. I'll tell you a quick story. We were doing a presentation with some young people, and I had a 14-year-old tell me that the reason why we have violence is because it's the principle of the matter. And I was sort of thrown back. I said, a principle? I said, can you use that in a sentence? I mean, what do you know about principle at 14? But he broke it down to me. He was like, look, if somebody disrespects me in front of my friends, then I have to deal with them because I don't want anybody to think that I'm soft. So he's locked in on his principle. And so we talk about those choices. Well, the principle is going to wind up getting you locked up or in jail. And when you really look at it down the road, that principle isn't worth it. So we're working very hard to change mindsets to change lives.
Speaking of changing mindsets, I think there is this misinformation in the community that all gun violence is gang violence. What has been your messaging to the community?
No, it's almost like the same misnomer that gun violence is caused by people that are having mental episodes, and it's not true. I think, especially here in the Virgin Islands, most of the homicides that we have had are targeted and are retaliatory in nature, or is connected to some personal issue between two people. So that's the majority of our investigations have revealed that sort of information.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain the different roles that you have in your office?
Yes, we have a community outreach coordinator who organizes events, participates with other agencies to do community outreach type activities. We have a survivor specialist that deals with victims and families, trying to make sure that we connect them with resources. And we have the violence interrupter who actually sort of mediates disputes and conflict between sort of warring factions to make sure that they reduce the amount of retaliations.
Okay.
And we also have an analyst, somebody that looks at our data.
Okay, and can you share any upcoming events that you guys have?
Well, next month is Gun Violence Prevention Month. And so we have a few things planned. On the 3rd of June, we're having a fun day in St. Thomas. We invite the young people to come out and ride these little go-karts, and that we're providing rides for them. It'll be food and music and a good fun day for them. Mm-hmm. And then we have a vigil march scheduled for the 10th in St. Thomas. And we're trying to organize another vigil march here. I think we're going to partner with the health department to do one here in St. Croix. I think that's it for June. We have, since it's such a busy month, we have some other things going on too, but the calendar isn't really lock solid yet.
Okay, well, when it is, please share that information so we can
share
it.
It'll be advertised.
Awesome. It has been a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Renelle Harris, Miss St. Croix 2022-2023. Lending my voice and new platform as Festival Queen to help end HIV in the territory. It's not just a slogan. It's this generation's responsibility to make it a reality. Getting tested and knowing your status empowers you with the knowledge and resources to stay free and rid these Virgin Islands of HIV. So do it for you, do it for me, do it for Alawi, and end HIV.
Welcome back, everyone. We'd love to introduce you to Damian Lang, Violence Interrupter. Now, Mr. Lang, I have to say that in our office, we call you the Youth Whisperer. We have been in awe of the way you interact with especially the youth, the community in general, and the way you share your story. So can you give us a little bit about your story?
Yes, my name is Damian Lang, and I come from a rough past. I've done almost anything you could think about, or maybe some of the stuff you saw on TV. I lived the life, and I survived it. I have a lot of friends that didn't survive it. And being that I survived it, it was a turning point in my life where I decided to make a change so I could continue to live. I know living in the streets, there's two choices. You either gonna die or you're gonna go to prison. I was tired of doing time in prison. I didn't want to die, so I decided to be a dad, be a father. And I made a change in my life for the betterment of my children. But being a better man for my children allowed me to be a better man in the community. Being a better man in the community allowed me to be acknowledged by people to see a different side of me. And when people saw a different side of me, it allowed me to grow, because I had expectations from other people that I wanted to reach, I wanted to be the better person. See, a lot of the guys that lived on the side of the fence where I lived at, they don't see the good person, they only see bad people. So, you know, being able to show a change and show a different, it was something new to me. I just wanted to be different.
So how did you get connected with the Office of Gun Violence Prevention?
That's a good one. So I started a nonprofit organization when I came out of prison. I was incarcerated for 12 years. And then when I came home, I wanted to do something different for my child. I have a daughter. I have 3 daughters and a son, but my daughter that's 9 years old, at the time she was 6. And my turning point was her telling me, you know, Daddy, how can you say you love me, but you keep going to prison? How are you going to protect me and my mother if you in prison and somebody break in the house and try to hurt us? And that was my turning point. And I started Fathers in the Community. It's a nonprofit organization registered here in the Virgin Islands. And my plan was to target men in our community. See, I feel if more men become better fathers and show more love to the kids, their children, it would be less hate in their heart to commit crimes or to start wars or to create beefs. Because a lot of men that love their children go and drive with their children. When you drive with your children, the last thing you want is for somebody to shoot at your car. So by being a better parent with your child, it's less times that you're going to take time to start a war or a beef. And I started Fathers in the Community, and then I was recognized by, you know, our great Governor Brian. You know, he told me that he feel I would fit perfect for a position that Tony Emmanuel was dealing with, the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And he said, I'm going to set you and Tony up to sit down and talk, and let's see how y'all could make this thing happen. And I was blessed for the opportunity. And then again, it's another level that I had to rise to another occasion. Like I had to fulfill something. And this was all new to me. Me and Tony come from 2 different backgrounds. You know, he's night and I'm day. Or I'm night and he's day. But we come from 2 different sides. It's like cat and mouse. It's like cops and robbers, you know? So we both have something to give to the community. My focus was trying to get to our young men. See, unlike a lot of the individuals that I work with, or a lot of the people in our society, they say, well, the youths is the problem, these young men is the problem. See, it's a lot more to it than just saying the young men is the problem. You know, our young men feel that it's a fashion. Some of our young men has amazing parents at home, but they don't idolize their dad that is a judge and the mother that's a registered nurse. They idolize the street man with the Gucci chain and the BMW. That's the fashion. Because of the music, blame it on YouTube, blame it on whatever you want to blame it on. But it's that child's choice. The choice to say that, hey, this is what's cool, this is what's hip. A lot of young men don't take the time to say that, my father is a judge, you know. You know? But then if they know that their dad is a bad man, my father is a bad man, you know, and they feel proud of that, other than to say, my father is a judge that have a licensed firearm that could defend me. My father is a bad man with an illegal gun, and they're more proud of that. I mean, it's sad, but this is something that's been instilled in our young men's mind through whatever it is they're looking at, the vision that they see. Because I don't see the vision. See, I live that life for real. A lot of our young men, they're doing it as a fashion. I speak firmly when I say I lived on that side of the fence. I should have been dead a long time ago. Should have been incarcerated for my whole life. I've committed crimes against humanity that some people would say was heinous. Some people would say, how is he here talking? How did he get a job in the office of the governor? Change. You know, if you say you want to change, that's the first step. Accepting that somebody telling you that, you know, I did this and it didn't work for me. I tried it more than once. You know, like I said, I went to prison for 12 years. I came home and I got back in the streets again. I didn't change. I went back to prison again. A couple years later, do another 3 years. I didn't learn. I came home again. I went back and do another year. And at that point of doing that year, I had 2 young girls. And my first time being incarcerated, I left a son that was 4 years old and a daughter that was 5 months old. And I came home and they were both teenagers. My son had just graduated from the educational complex. And it was rough, him growing up without a father, my daughter growing up without a father, becoming teenagers and then getting to meet me. They accepted me after a while, but then it's like, you know, me having to try to be somebody that I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to be a dad. It was a hard job. I knew how to be bad. I was good at being bad. And now I put all my effort in being good, and it's more rewarding. It's fun. You know, I get to rub elbows with guys like Tony, Governor Brian, you know, Miss Encarnacion, you know, like I feel good about myself. I feel good to wear this pin. You know, I feel good. And I talk to my young men in the schools and I explain to them, like, I live this life. I walk this road. Ain't no benefits in it. You're going to die. And if you don't die, you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life. We just did a tour of the prison the other day where we took young men from Central High School, at-risk young men. We took 35 to the Golden Grove Correctional Facility. And we stayed there for the whole day and just like showed them what prison was like. And we had young men that were sentenced to life sentences come out and talk to them and tell them about one mistake. All it takes is one chance. I mean, I've had numerous chances. Call me lucky. But everybody ain't lucky. You know? But yes, that's my story. And that's how I made it to the office of the governor.
And what are some other youth outreaches that you do for the community?
So, alongside Fathers in the Community, my nonprofit, and the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, what I do is I go from hood to hood, you know, and I still have that mentality that, you know, I'm from the streets. So I feel comfortable going in any hood because now I have God on my side. So it's like I feel bigger, stronger. So I go from hood to hood and I kind of get the guys in the community to actually understand, like, if you could hold it down, then you could get them to hold it down. And, you know, I get them to start doing little initiatives. Like, instead of letting these young dudes watch you sitting on the corner all day, tell them to go home and do the homework. Don't let them come and hang out with you because they think it's cool. Send them home. And, you know, we just do a lot of outreach, like just talking. You know, sometimes the best way is just conversation. Some of these young men just want somebody to talk to. They want to tell you what they're feeling because they don't feel good talking to their moms. You know, I'm not going to bash no women, but we have a lot of problems, and with our young men especially, and young ladies too, but men, young boys, going home to parents that's young parents. Our young parents are a problem in our island because they instill things that they do into these kids' minds because the kids see them do it, they think it's okay to do it. We have too many young kids starting to smoke marijuana at a young age now. They drinking at a young age. Why? Because they see it at home. We have young parents that's still learning to be a parent, that's trying to be a parent, but they really don't know how. And some of them wasn't even taught how to be a parent. So they really don't know. They're trying. And some of them doing it wrong.
So how do we change that? How do we change the messaging we're giving to the youth?
It starts at home. Point blank and simple. Nothing we do in the community gonna ever be enough unless home starts it. See, whether we want to accept it or not, a child is going to be more accepting to his mother than anybody else in the world, especially young men. And when mommy said no, it's no. Now when a bad man say no, you be like, and what you want to do me if I don't do it? But with mommy, they tend to bow down. But see, we have too many young parents. We have to understand that these young men that we have a lot of young men dying. Right now it's a saying, if you live to be 25 as a young black man, you bless. Because we have young men that's 16, 17, 18 years old dying. And the ones that ain't dying, they're killing the other ones and going to prison for the rest of their life. And if the parents at home don't start to correct it, then by the time we outside try to fix it, it's not fixable because mommy told us it was okay. Mommy smoked weed. See, weed is a bad drug for the mind. I smoked marijuana before. It's not something nice, especially for a teenager, because it gives you that you need, that want, that you can't afford. And then now you have to get lashing out at your mother or your father or your big brother or your grandmother because you can't get it. It's addictive. But yes, I think the parents, we really need to get to the parents. And that's why I do the events I do, Daddy's Day Out. It's a family event. And I just try to get families to understand, like, I ain't telling you not to smoke. But just don't let them see you doing it so they think it's okay. Because if they see mommy doing it, nobody else can tell them you're wrong.
Okay, what group within the territory do you feel that we should work with more to end gun violence?
Ooh, that's a good one. Whew. My idea on that was, when I first started with the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, my way was to get to all the bigger heads in the community to try and let it become one, where we could break this east and west, or this north and south. Like, let it be one island, let it be St. Croix. And it was working awesome. I mean, we went months without a murder. It was going great. If you're the bigger head in your community, control the little ones in your community. Tell them we ain't accepting no nonsense. And that was my approach to try to prevent gun violence. But some of the older guys actually fear these younger guys because these younger guys, they disregard rules. They feel like you can't tell me nothing because my mother cool with it. So who is you? And that's a big problem. It's hard. I think we can deal with it, but it's going to take time. I think the efforts that we're doing right now with the high schools and the junior high schools, these are our up and coming. These are the ones that's coming to the streets. They're coming to society as adults soon. And I want where we can, target them. If we could get them to change their mind from now and graduate high school. Like, if you don't mind me saying this, I had some young men that just graduated at Central and Complex. And I mean, a couple months prior to graduation, I had more than one telling me about dropping out. I had more than one telling me he can't do this no more. I had more than one telling me, like, man, this ain't for me, man, this for the birds. And to see them walk across the stage, I felt good. I felt that was on behalf of our office because of me telling them I'm gonna beat them. Like, I tell them so. I said, you drop out, then you go face me in the streets. And, I had a bad reputation. So they don't want to see me get bad with them, But I felt like it was effective, It's a different course. Some people wasn't cool with how I talked to some of the kids. But it was effective because I watched my boys graduate in different schools. So, I mean, I love it,
And we could talk all day, but before we wrap up, I just want to ask, what are some words of encouragement you would give to our youth to stay away from guns?
It's poisonous, don't touch it. It's poisonous. If you see it, walk away. Because the minute you touch it, it becomes an addiction. You feel like you need it. And no addictions are good. So my advice to any youth man, any young lady, you see it, report it. If you don't want to report it, walk away from it. But don't touch it.
And on that note, we'll go to break.
Hi, I'm Renelle Harris, Miss St. Croix 2022-2023. Lending my voice and new platform as Festival Queen to help end HIV in the territory. It's not just a slogan. It's this generation's responsibility to make it a reality. Getting tested and knowing your status empowers you with the knowledge and resources to stay free and rid these Virgin Islands of HIV. So do it for you, do it for me, do it for Alawi, and end HIV.
Damien, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Any final thoughts for the community?
Yes, I want everybody to know, be on the lookout for my book, Damien Reborn. It's about life from a different angle. So check it out, be on the lookout.
Awesome. Tamara, any final words from you?
This topic is very near and dear to me after losing my husband to gun violence. And I want to just thank the Office of Gun Violence and Prevention, and I hope to collaborate with you guys' initiative really soon.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us for our third episode of Mindfulness Mondays. A special thanks goes out to the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, especially Mr. Tony Emmanuel and Mr. Damien Lang, who continue to create safe spaces for our community to have tough conversations regarding gun violence. While the relationship between serious mental illness and gun violence is very low, we must continue having honest and meaningful conversations about all the factors that play into this type of violence. And we must know what we can do to prevent these tragedies. Only then can we have meaningful solutions to protecting our children and our communities. We'll see you next Monday, same time, same place, for another episode of Mindfulness Monday. But before you leave, please enjoy this Mindfulness Minute with Amanda Armstrong, yoga instructor.
Hey guys, my name is Amanda Armstrong, also known as Yogi Mandi, here to guide you through a few mindful movements today. So I welcome you to join me for a few gentle upper body stretches. Let's find a comfortable seat, whether on the ground cross-legged like me or on a chair with the feet to the ground. Let's find length through the spine as you inhale, and then exhale, relaxing your shoulders down. Awesome. We tend to carry most of our stress and our tension in our upper body, especially in our shoulders, neck, and head. So let's inhale, bring the shoulders up to the ears, and then exhale to release them down. Nice. 2 more just like that. Big inhale, lifting the shoulders up to the ears, and then exhale to release and soften them down. Last one. Big inhale, lifting the shoulders up, squeezing them up high, then exhale to release them down. Let's take a few gentle shoulder rolls here. Nice. Bringing the body back to center. Gently place your right ear over your right shoulder here. Start to feel that deep stretch along the left side of the neck. Still maintaining a tall spine here and breathing. Then gently bringing the chin to the chest and then over to the left side. With every exhale, relax and soften your shoulders. One last big breath in. And exhale, release it out. Awesome. Bringing the chin to the chest. Slowly start to take circular motions with the head. Feel free to close your eyes here. Go ahead and reverse your circle in the opposite direction now. Awesome. Bringing your body back to center. Let's take one last mindful moment here. Noticing your presence and giving yourself permission to let go and release whenever you need to.